Hello, my name's Montse Costafreda and welcome to our first ever Oxford Webinar Day. Today is a special occasion dedicated to celebrating 5 years of Oxford webinars.
But just for a quick trip down memory lane, our very first webinar was actually with our very own Montse. And since then, we've delivered almost 200 webinar training sessions, and we've actually collaborated with around 80 different teacher trainers. Not to forget all of you, the willing participants, and we couldn't have done it without you.
This is what I call a storytelling gap fill. Now, this is me going to tell you my story, and with standard gap fills, we use pieces of paper, texts, and students have to fill in the gaps with pens or pencils. This is the same principle, but the teacher holds the text, and you don't use pens and pencils. You just have to shout out your answers. The teacher can try and bring some kind of order to it by telling some students to be quiet and other students to think about the answers before they shout them out. Anyway, this is July 1983. July 1983. If I remember correctly, I was 11 years old. I was on holiday in France with my family, my mum, my dad, my 9-year-old sister Susie, and my baby brother Alistair. Now, I was starting to get. When I do that, that means there's a gap to be filled. And you have to supply the language that's missing. So I was starting to get, and the language that's missing is there on the screen in front of you. You've got to choose the phrase to finish the sentence.
And what they say about the 4 skills that they say about millennials that they really want, value, is attention. This is like the new IQ, which I think is probably comes from all the input that the children have nowadays, and there's so much content. It's probably difficult to focus. More than college, and this is I put this because it's an interesting. I thought it was an interesting quote that somebody said. It's almost like we spent 20 years teaching them track and field events, and now they've grown up. We toss them into the deep end of the pool and ask them to swim. So, I like that because it's saying we've been teaching them certain skills, but actually what they need in the real world, real life, is something different. Agility. So having a high IQ or hard skills alone isn't sufficient in today's workplace. To adapt to the most rapidly changing demands of the modern world, and agility. Agility, flexibility, to be able to jump from one situation to the next. And humility, not taking yourself too seriously, admitting them when you don't know the stuff, asking for help, and when you need it, are some of the most advanced skills of all.
I've got some other ideas that I think are really nice ways of getting students excited about something. One really nice way of getting students into a project is to go on a field trip. Now, you can't go on a field trip, every week, unfortunately, but you can take the students out of the classroom. So the field trip might be a trip down to the playground, for example, or it might even be a field trip to the classroom next door. It doesn't have to be very far away, okay? If you can take them further away, great. But they get so excited and so interested, and they learn in a completely different way when you take them out of the classroom, don't they? And also it brings the outside world back into the classroom with them as well, of course. So it kind of forms that connection that we were talking about before. Another nice thing to do is to invite an expert into the classroom. You might find among parents or in the local community somebody who'd be happy to come along and have the students ask them questions, or maybe do a guessing game with them just to introduce the topic of the project. Now, I've chosen a picture here to illustrate that, which actually shows a teacher, well, not a teacher, an expert in the classroom via Skype or via, a webinar or something like that. I've actually done this with a group of students. I asked some friends of mine to connect with the class, and we used Skype in the classroom. We put my friends up on the projector, and the students asked questions, and they were really motivated to ask questions to the people that were kind of in their classroom, and they talked about it for classes and classes afterwards.
And then many of you talked about this idea of rotating
the jobs, which I think is very, very important. Some of the things here seen out and about, you know, one of the schools I see kids, you know, come in and they've got the mini teacher on. And so, you know, and they're so proud, you know, when somebody says to them, well, who's the mini teacher? Who's going to pick the video? Or who's the mini teacher? Who's going to do this? So things like this, you know, doing the calendar. I love the one, the meteorologist, instead of just saying weather, having them use the job name. They, you know, again, the electrician, instead of the one who turns the lights on and off. The table wiper instead of the cleanup person, the door holder, is great. And then the supplies manager. And the other one, exactly, the attendance taker, whatever it is. And what I do a lot with this door holder business is also the idea of having a line leader. And then maybe when you're leaving the class or going into the class, you could do it, you know, like a choo-choo train or something. Or have, you know, the head and the tail or whatever it is. So giving them a chance to take care of their own situations in the classroom.
It's been a fantastic day. We've had, I think, almost 700 people connected throughout the day. So a huge, massive thank you to everyone involved. It is a celebration, so obviously it wouldn't be a celebration without our confetti moment. So in 3, 2, 1.
Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations! 5 years of Oxford webinars. Thank you very much, and
well done, everyone.
see you
Bye.
soon.